was on a hiatus.
Yeah?
I was on a hiatus, but
don't worry. Yes. Wherever you go home is best, Karibu.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk in terms of tourism, right? So we've had June speak in terms of the numbers that we have, how we're fixing, we're doing everything to fix that, to just ensure that numbers as well continue to come in. Yes. The gentleman says, MICE, important in just plugging into the same. Kenya ranked 4th, you know, in terms of the proper destination for conference, you know. But we talk about policies that then would go into feeding into both sectors and just continue to make it improve. You know, President William Ruto launched the Kenya being a free visa country. You know, that is a policy change that if you just look at it in terms of tourism and how that then feeds into the sector, pretty good. Nice. But where are we from where you say?
Foremost, allow me to wish all my fellow Kenyans a very happy Jamhuri Day. I mean, 61 years since we attained full independence. It's been quite a journey with its own challenges, with a lot of ground that has been covered. And tourism remains one of the critical sectors that has been an economic driver for this country. Even before independence. Kenya remains one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And a lot of people, and a lot of people can attest to that. I think there are very few countries on this planet that can present the diversity that we see in this country, from our coastline to the mountains to the deserts, the diversity, the lakes, the Rift Valley, the diversity is just phenomenal. And perhaps to add on to what one of the guests at the Nyayo Stadium said, Mr. Maina, I am a local tourism junkie. I travel a lot and I love enjoying this country. Every opportunity I get to move around is really an opportunity to explore. And I would encourage Kenyans actually to do that, because there is so much this country has to offer. Every time I'm out there, there is something new to see or to learn or to understand from history, from heritage, from culture, from facilities and all that. So I would really want to encourage Kenyans to enjoy that. Now back to the issue of where tourism today stands. I believe there is a lot that still needs to be done in terms of enhancing our attractiveness. And in my view, the numbers that we currently celebrate or enjoy do not essentially or do not actually match the potential that we have as a country. And I think it's good we have Junior from the Kenya Tourism Board. There is a lot of necessity to restructure the concept of marketing. And one of the key things I believe is to really focus on domestic tourism and Africa as a source market, because there is so much. My preference always is to move around this country by road, because when you move in mostly in any other means, there is very little that you can be able to enjoy. And like if you take a drive just from here to Nairobi, say to Malindi, there is so much that is to be seen and to be enjoyed. You not believe it. Sometimes I prefer taking that trip for 2 or 3 days so that you can just absorb what you have. If you take a drive from here to Kitale or from here to Busia or from here to Moyale, it's a phenomenal country. And I think there's so much that we need to be able to build on, especially in attracting or encouraging more Kenyans to be able to enjoy this diversity. On the international level, or at the international level, you see, the safari has been the primary product. Yes. And in my view, the circuits, in my view, have been overdone, because we have just maintained very narrow circuits. Like I have a lot of friends in the hospitality and tourism sector, and the idea is always you want to get a Mzungu here just to maybe spend a night in Nairobi, go to Masai Mara, then probably Diani, and that's it. Yet there is so much when you go, especially to the northern parts of Kenya. There is amazing sites that have not been exploited, and especially the historical components. You go all the way to Turkana. There is so much, actually. I have never seen some of those sites being given prominence, even during this international marketing fairs that KTB participates extensively. So my thinking would be there is necessity to encourage or to make the international visitors get to see more beyond the lions and the elephants and the big five and perhaps the coastline. That to me is really critical. But as a patriot, my emphasis would be Kenyans really need to be able to enjoy our diversity. And of course, of late, you can see a lot of people taking time to enjoy what we have. Like this December, a lot of people, the mindset again is people want just to flock the coastline and go in. And it's a beautiful thing because we have one of the most beautiful coastlines in the world. And it's a beautiful weather this December. But there is so much in the hinterland of this country that we need to bring out more. There are beautiful crater lakes in the Rift Valley and escarpments and a broad diversity of wildlife and all that. So I think the emphasis should really be on populating the products.
Yes.
There is so much that can be said.
You talk about populating the product, and there's this scene of this young man, I think it's either Thailand or Indonesia, that kid who's always doing this, and we are going, you know, and you know, it's something that started at a sporting event, and it went global, and everyone across the world is just traveling to experience that child doing that, and it's turned into being a tourism product for the country, and. June, we've just canvassed in terms of diversifying what it is we have, you know. So we're getting into more into conference facilities. But if you look at even the nature trails that we have, you just walk into Ololua and mind-boggling. You walk towards the Hell's Gate.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling. You know, you go to, the other day I was in Homa Bay County, and the trails that are mind-boggling. You drive towards Makueni and the hills, the twists and turns. What are we doing with this to just sell it to Kenyans as new ways, you know, for locals to so are we thinking of new ways to plug into the sector?
Yes, just to help contextualize. First of all, I wish to agree with the sentiment that we need to go beyond pushing for our safari and our beach offering to really showcase what else Kenya has in different parts of the country. And yes, we have actually, yesterday, His Excellency the President launched the Tembea Kenya campaign under Hapa Ni Wapi. And we are trying to work with Kenyans to tell us and to tell the story of where they are so that the rest of the country can pick and be able to really identify the hidden gems. Having said that, we've also done mapping of tourism experiences in different parts of the country, knowing that tourism product development is actually a devolved function. And so we are working with the counties to ask themselves, what is in your county? What is so unique about Homa Bay, for example, that Kenya and the rest of the world should look forward to? I am a fan of Homa Bay. I think Takawiri is my favorite. But what else can you do in Homa Bay? What else can you do in Turkana? What else can you do in Nandi County? And today, His Excellency the President will come up with some policy interventions that will see us develop the product so that we are able to have a product that is market ready. One of the challenges in sales and marketing is what is called mis-selling. You overpromise and you fail to deliver. So we'd like to then take to the market a product that is ready so that a tourist doesn't get disappointed when they get to an experience and it's not as expected. So we want to be able to sell a product that's market ready. However, our nature trails, our uniqueness that we have are market ready. And you may have noticed that last year, Kenya Tourism Board, actually early this year, launched the Magical Kenya Trail series. We launched it here locally, and we had a number of 8 of them, hiking to Mount Kenya, Hell's Gate, different parts of the country. We were also able to showcase it in Berlin, ITB Berlin, early this year. And therefore, we are working closely with the local government to be able to showcase the hidden gems. But allow me to also respond to his messaging on Africa. We have over 1.3 billion Africans
Absolutely.
in the continent of Africa. If we got only 10% of them to travel within the continent, that's enough revenue to push our economies.
Yeah.
Yet, traveling to a neighboring African country is more expensive than traveling to our neighboring continent, maybe Asia. Why is it so? Because our aviation industry as a continent has not matured enough to make it possible for us to travel affordably. So even as you push for us to go to Africa, we were doing an analysis with my team, and I was just trying to retrieve that data of the airlines that fly into Kenya, and most of them are over 75% full. So even as you push to say, yes, we must move from 2.5 million, 0.4 million international arrivals to 5.5 million, the question is, how would they come? That's why we at times hold our marketing and then engage government for policy interventions. And that is why His Excellency the President is pushing for the expansion of JKIA. Without that, how will they come? Yeah. We are licensing more airlines to be able to bring people to Kenya, because the more airlines fly to the country, the more affordable it is to fly. How do you travel to Kenya? We need the road network. And the other day you saw Rironi Mount Summit being expanded to allow us to now go to Interland and enjoy. So let's look at tourism holistically, yes. And the supporting infrastructures and the realities of our times.
Yeah, so we look at the conference and the exhibition that was held in the country, the EAC conference, and you look at the exhibitors who were there were raising issues that Kenyans did not visit their stalls. Why would that? Why? What would you have to say in terms of Kenyans consuming our own products, June, as well as Simon, in terms of just ensuring that we package all this information so that Kenyans understand and Kenyans know where to go, because most of Kenyans as well said, "Atukujua." Yes. This is Atukujua. Yeah. So, June, just in terms of these conferences that we get into, we spend a lot in making them there. The exhibitors come and they have to pay for them to have their stalls. But Kenyans, I'll come enjoy the good life and go.
I think as we have a responsibility, of course, to create that awareness and to build the platforms for Kenyans. But Kenyans love their country. What maybe we haven't built is a culture of travel. Yeah. You will realize from next week, everyone will be going back to their shags. It is good for the local economy, yeah? But what if all of us, we are 50 million of us, if 10% of us decides to move from one county to another? First of all, we'll have national cohesion. We will appreciate each other and move away from perception of different communities and be able to gel as one nation, one people. But beyond that, we will be building our economy, because the more you spend in your economy, the better it is you're creating jobs and opportunities. So I think it's a responsibility again on us as government to create that platform and build that knowledge, awareness among the people, but also Kenyans to also love themselves, love their country, and also, be willing to spend in themselves and in their country.
In the country. So, Peter.
Yes.
So here is, we have Kenya positioning itself as the destination hub when it comes to conferences. We're doing everything possible to get there. But even while we get there, things that we need to fix, some bolts and nuts that we need to tighten for us to get there. But one would ask the first question: what makes Kenya as the location, as the hub, as the place to go in terms of MICE, and for the challenges that we are seeing in terms of Kenyans are attending these conferences but are not visiting these booths? Because at the end of the day, now, if 2024 I paid for an exhibition, no one showed up, why would I come in 2026? Correct. So in terms of fixing the nuts and bolts, making sure that Kenyans know and visit, as well as what makes Kenya stand out.
All right, fantastic. Actually, let me be honest, so in regards to why some of the event you find the turn-up is very low, few engagement is the marketing aspect. In fact, you'll be very shocked to look at it in terms, do you know our mice industry in Kenya is a semi-professional industry? So,
what does that mean?
Oh, yes, thank you. So when I actually say the mice industry is a semi-professional industry, we do not have formal programs to support mice. For instance, if I ask, do you know we have only one university in the country that has an undergraduate program in events management? In fact, right now it's actually gravitated to also a master's program. So how many people have expertise on how to plan an event, on how to market an event? So it's a skill gap that when you're marketing an event, when you're creating an event, you need a particular special expertise. You need to market properly so that you can also give value to your exhibitors and also to the sponsors. So don't create an event for people to come while still not doing proper marketing. Just a matter of expertise. The other aspect in terms of marketing, and here's where also my heart sinks. Kenya, we have a mature product for beach and bush, but the event aspect, it's underlooked. And if you look at it this way, in fact, for those people struggling with mice, it's business events. I think that's the best language for them to understand. We need harmonization of marketing platform. For instance, and I'm glad, I think this year, Magical Kenya is doing some rebranding. We anticipate to see some mice element there. So when Kenya is doing its marketing... I hope you
have seen our Leisure Club.
Yes, the Leisure.
Are you a member?
Yes, of course I'm a member, June.
Please also acknowledge when we are doing right.
Of course we'll give credit to where due.
Right due, yeah.
Yes, we'll give credit to where due. So I think also we need this harmonization. As much as you're talking about Kenya beach, the bush aspect, let's also talk about Kenya. Look at a marketing campaign of Meet in Nairobi. Come to this convention center. And the other aspect is improved coordination between, and this is the structural aspect. You see what KTB is to the leisure tourism, the KNCB is to the mice tourism. So Kenya, we do not have a national convention bureau, and this is what supports Kenya to market. Because at this point, as we speak, the state of the industry, the private sector is taking its own initiative to market the country. So without not much support on the other side. For instance, next year, there is a lineup program of 10 international events that the private sector, they'll be taking part to market Kenya. One of them is Meetings Africa. They'll be heading next year on February in South Africa. And it's a private sector initiative for them to come. So, and if you get a lot of support in terms of, as government does its whole marketing, let them integrate the marketing aspect for Meeting Nairobi, because you have nice facility. In fact, actually, you have very good problem. We have a very good problem of we do not have enough facilities, and that tells you that there's a huge demand. And the question you ask me then is, what makes Kenya a very suitable country or a destination hub? Is the things that I mentioned. Kenya is strategically located, the political stability, the economic element, and again, also the president is an ambassador of the country. So he is a well-known president in the world, and that tells you how he's positioned in Kenya. We saw there's the KDF, that the police that came from Haiti.
Yes.
Yeah. So how Kenya is trying to position itself as a security diplomacy, and Kenya is mentioned here and there. It's a good plus for us. So people will be like, which country is this in Africa? So, and it generates more numbers. And what June said, it's about enhancing capacity, so improving infrastructure, the PPP. And I think also during, I think the State of the Nation address, he said that he's going to review again the PPP for the JKA, for the JKIA. Yeah, so Kenya has so many strategic advantage. In fact, I remember, I think each and every Kenyan has a bracelet for Kenya.
Kenyatta. It's called Kenyatta, yes.
Actually, yes. So that tells how proud. And yesterday during the Tourism Excellence Award, Waziri Rebecca Miano said that indeed it's a great time to be the CS of Kenya, where there is a lot of digital activities, and it's making her work easier, and stories about what Kenyans, in fact, we are very active as compared to our friends in a particular, so we are very vocal in terms of digital communication. So we are great ambassadors for our country. So those are the benefits.
Let me give you a story about this bracelet. Yes. So I remember I attended an EU-AU meeting in Brussels, and I wanted to speak to the PS, Foreign Affairs.
Yeah.
And because he was so engaged, I couldn't see him. The only thing I did is I pointed my bracelet,
Oh my
and
goodness.
he understood
Yes.
what I was saying.
Yes.
That's how strong this bracelet is. And
Yes.
actually, it's even been voted one of the most worn bracelets in the world.
Yes, it is.
Yes, and the
it
most
is.
beautiful, and something interesting. Now, we also need to look at the economic impact of this bracelet.
Of this bracelet, yeah.
Yes, these are the local communities, the beadwork that they're able to create. In fact, if a tourist coming to Kenya, these are souvenirs that and Kenyans were very recognizable, I think. But on an economic perspective, I know you're talking about manufacturing, industrializing Kenya. What you need to look at it is how these beads are being manufactured. We need to have capacity to manufacture now these beads locally.
Yeah. But
Can I just chime in there? So, do we really have a marketing issue, or we have an infrastructure issue? Have you ever tried booking a conference in 2 days or 5 days turnaround? You'll not get space.
yeah.
Kenya Tourism Board hosts an annual conference called Magical Kenya Travel Expo. This year we brought about 9,000 delegates for an exhibition. We have no such a space in Kenya to host, so we have taken it to Huru Gardens. What happens? It makes it expensive. It's not ideal for the event. So even as you look at conversation, marketing, communicating, we need to also speak to the infrastructure. Yes, government is putting up bombers, but we need to encourage private sector to do more. So we are expecting private sector to reach out to government and say, these are the kind of incentives we need. And incentive is not monetary. Tell us, we need government to help us with a road network to this space so that we can build a facility, power to this space, internet connectivity and so forth. Because the truth of the matter is that the maize industry in Kenya has fully grown.
Yeah.
What we need to grow is the infrastructure.
Yeah, Ben, from a governance perspective,
Yes.
let's look at what we need to fix. Because we say there's a problem with marketing, there's a problem with infrastructure. But from where you sit in terms of governance, which are these critical aspects of the tourism sector that, if fixed, Kenya will be a great place to be in? Like more tourists will just want to come in, and even Kenyans will just want to spend more in the country to support the sector.
Dennis, allow me to take us back a little bit. Most of the times, if you have no good understanding of your history, you are bound to make the same mistakes, and you are bound not to understand your destination. And today being Jamhuri Day is a very significant day to take a moment just to reflect on where we are coming from, where we are, and most importantly, where we intend to go. Two things come out very strongly. One, June has talked about the Kenyan population, and also what I proposed in terms of getting more Kenyans involved in tourism. We are now talking about the component of infrastructure and building the numbers. But there are certain things that we must never be, or we can never run away from. About a year after attaining full independence, that was in 1965, there is a paper that was developed called the Sessional Paper Number 10 of 1965. In fact, it came to be referred to as the Kenyan Economy Bible. This paper was presented by the late Tom Mboya, and it was built by top economists, including the late Barack Obama Sr. And one of the key things, or the three pillars around this particular sessional paper, was to eradicate poverty, ignorance, and disease. Now, in the context we have today, as June was indicating, like when you look at the Kenyan population in excess of 50 million, unfortunately, we have more than half of the country's population still struggling with acute poverty. And those are very critical players or factors that affect our tourism in this sense. As a nation, we haven't done much in terms of enhancing the individual living standards of the citizenry. And I think the lady at Nyayo Stadium, Mofire, brought this out, especially currently, the weight of the cost of living. What this translates to, I want to believe that Peter here, or June here, and even you, Denise, and most of the people that we are sitting in this room today, out of either some economic advantage or out of economic ability, you have been able to establish or build networks that go beyond this country. One of the key factors that drives tourism is a citizenry that is able to interact or engage and even trade beyond the borders. I have a lot of friends who visit this country, not as tourists, but because perhaps there is a project or an assignment or something that we are doing together because of perhaps my economic placement. When you look at more than half of the population of this country, people who are struggling even to put a meal on the table, they do not enjoy that advantage to be able to interact or trade or do business with people beyond the borders. So my thinking would be to emphasize on achieving or attaining what we promised ourselves at independence, to be able to get a citizenry involved in building these numbers. Because I have quite a number of visitors who have come to this country purely out of my own invitation and personal marketing of the country, and that attracts them. It is not because it is coming from KTB or the government or because of their own independent research. So I would imagine the impact that would have if we are able to focus more on attaining this, the economic independence of the citizens of this country. To me, that is extremely important. There is a damper to the excitement about the tourism products or the circuits that we have. Recently, there was a terminology that was coined about slum tourism, because we have huge populations of this country, especially in our urban areas, who live in extremely deplorable conditions. And there are people who have taken advantage of that situation, either to attract donor funding or to attract support. It's not a bad thing if it is genuinely intentioned or directed towards improving the living standards of these people. But most of the time you find the concept has been exploitive. In terms of people who are looking to secure funding to better or improve their own lives at the expense of these communities. So my challenge would be for people to, especially the government, after 6 decades, we shouldn't be having cases of, or even Kenyans living in the kinds of conditions we are seeing, or Kenyans unable to feed themselves. Because we have had very fancy discussions about food security, for example. The lady Mofire talked about that because we have diverted our attention to populist pronouncements at the expense of tangible action on the ground directed towards the actual improvement of the economies and the livelihoods of ordinary Kenyans. And I think there's no necessity to overemphasize that, because even when you look at the recent activities from last year, especially the Gen Z uprising, and even this year, these are factors that affect our tourism massively. When Kenya appears on international media banning, and especially young people agitated because there are no economic opportunities, that sends the wrong signal to the international communities, or even our neighbors, maybe our fellow Tanzanians or Ugandans or Rwandans who would like to visit this country. So my take would be, and this is something I believe the government should be focusing to address today, we must go beyond the lip service and the fancy discussions or the fancy pronouncements and outline tangible, practical roadmaps that can turn around this economy. Agriculture is a critical sector that should be attracting tourism. When I was a young boy, traveling from Nairobi towards either Nakuru or Eldoret or Kitale, you could see pyrethrum on the lining up the highways. You don't see that anymore. We have been talking about enhancing irrigation. Like, if we were serious, the Galana Kulalu project should be something that is attracting people who would like to enhance agriculture in their countries. That is in terms of diversifying the products we are talking about. But I'll give you a specific example. And June, this is something you can check out on your way to Eldoret. Between Ngata and Salga on the Nakuru Eldoret highway, there is a place called Sobea. Sobea, there is a junction that turns to the left, goes all the way to Njoro. Yeah. That was a beautiful farmland that used to grow mostly wheat and probably maize. A few years ago, I had the privilege of using that road. One, it is an abandoned road, yet it is a very prime economic region. But what devastated me was to see large tracts of that land that have been converted from agricultural land, and people subdivided that into this plot Maguta thing. It's something that you can check out. Yeah. And that, to me, one, affects the economy of this country, because we cannot just be talking about houses when we are not even able to feed ourselves. The world population has crossed the 8 billion mark, and many countries are not able to produce their food. It is saddening that you find even Saudi Arabia is able to produce more food than Kenya, yet it is a desert. So yeah. my sum up on that would be, there is need now to focus more on the local citizens and improving the livelihoods of the ordinary citizens, so that we can all participate in this and
please allow me to have a rejoinder on that. You're on point with regards to let me start with agriculture, and you did mention the issue of pyrethrum lining up and all that. I would like to interest you to visit Elgeyo Marakwet and see what's going on with pyrethrum. Why is this happening? Because 1 year ago, His Excellency the President supported the establishment of an EPZ in Nakuru and Athi River, purely on pyrethrum. There's an American company that has set up there that is now able to buy Pareto from farmers. This was never happening before. His Excellency the President, or the President of Kenya at that time, when the sector, the pyrethrum sector went down. We are now lifting that sector, and a lot is happening in the pyrethrum sector. You have mentioned about infrastructure. Let's contextualize this country. Where do we get revenue to run government as a country?
Taxes.
Kenya. We do not have minerals like the Gulf. We do not have minerals like countries like Norway. We rely heavily on agriculture and the service industry, and therefore we have to go beyond the usual way of running the government and thinking outside the box. And that's why the government is setting up the infrastructure bond that is going to then fund agriculture. And you've had the president focusing a lot more on dams, so that we move away from rain-fed agriculture to now irrigating the farms and supporting the agricultural sector. And so I wish to agree with you that we are running late. We have to focus on the citizens. And so when we as government come up with these new approaches to raising revenue to support the government, we'd like Mwananchi also to be also fed with the right information, so that we can support and know that we really have to diversify. So I digressed from tourism. But from the tourism point of view, tourism has grown. I think Kiambu has become a popular destination for tourists who want to go to the farm, and we are now pushing that beyond Kiambu to different parts of the country, so that you earn more. You don't just earn from your coffee by selling the berries, you also earn by inviting tourists to come and understand the source of the drink that they're enjoying. Same applies to tea and all aspects of agriculture. In terms of slums, you mentioned that the phenomenon of slums. That is why the affordable housing project is supporting the lifting of the slums. And we really need to tell Kenyans the truth. put yourself in a space where you can live in a decent facility, that government is pushing towards affordable housing. So we hope that in the near future, we'll be able to eradicate the slums by leveraging on the housing levy to just lift the livelihood of Kenyans.
Maybe very quickly, Dennis, especially on the component of affordable housing, because this has been a very hot discussion, and especially if you have a basic economic understanding. If I earn 5,000 shillings, the government can never afford to house me, or this concept is actually turned upside down. I don't know whether it was an idea of turning bottom up into upside down, because the person living in Kibra today, or Mathare, or Mukuru, who earns 200 or 300 shillings from a construction site, cannot afford even to live in that house, even if you are just to leave them or give them an apartment. Like there's the Mukuru project here. Even the utility bills alone in that house, just the electricity component and the water, because that is not what they were able to afford in the facility they were living. So my thinking is still the priorities are totally twisted upside down, and we need to focus more on enhancing the economic ability of the citizen so that I can be able to afford to house myself better. It's not the other way around.
All right, all right.
And how is that? What is that?
Let's maintain. Let's remain on Jamhuri.
Yeah, let's focus on tourism.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to look at. You mentioned something that is critical in terms of value addition. You know, a country like Panama is big on matters to do with coffee, and it is said that Panama has one of the sweetest and most amazing coffee from across the world. So what have they done with their coffee? They have tasting days for coffee. They have coffee competitions, and global markets, global manufacturers go to Panama to test their coffee and buy that coffee. So you look at an entire tourism sector that is just around coffee, because people go, and as you get to Panama, you go up their trails to get into those farms, and it's an entire amazing ecosystem around tourism. So it's just thinking around it, and perhaps it's something that even here in Kenya, we are doing it already. You know, if you're traveling from here going to, you pass through Kiambu, you take photos by the tea bushes. You know, you get to Kisii, you do the same. You know, when we go to Kiambu, perhaps we start testing these coffee testing initiatives and all that. But let's talk about the maize sector. So we've seen that maize is equally growing up. You know, maize is going up at a first pace. It is sad that we have facilities that have existed that pretty much built the tourism sector. You talk about the Hilton hotels, the Intercontinental, that are closed today, yet they were big, especially in that space. And that speaks of a lot that we need to do for that industry to continue growing day by day. So let's look at the changes, right? Let's look at the reforms in the sector for us to say today that one would wake up and say, nah, I'll not go to a neighboring country, I will come to Kenya. And are we as Kenyans as well, say today, we say, let's buy Kenya, build Kenya. Is it an event as packaged that a Kenyan would say, I am going there to buy Kenya, to build Kenya?
So I'll answer your questions in two ways. So you mentioned about the reforms. So what reforms do we need in the country to ensure that we promote maize tourism? One is capacity building. And capacity building, it's we need more training institutions that train maize professionals. And by maize professionals, by this I mean events management program. Of course, we have other programs that complement maize, that is the hospitality and tourism programs, the aviation sector. So we need to have that. The second one, it's and actually this is what during the 4-day we were at KICC, the PS George Lolo tour, he expressed his commitment to push for the operationalization for the National Convention Bureau, which actually we had, then it was folded. So hopefully we are going to see it in operation. So the third reform, we'll be looking at it. It's coordinated national marketing. So such that as Kenya does its bush and beach, we also have the Meet in Kenya initiative campaign. So the other aspect is in terms of infrastructure. In fact, I'm happy to say that the private sector is heavily investing in infrastructure. And some of the key examples we also have Sariti Expo Center. Yeah, it's a private facility. In fact, it is the largest
age convention.
Yes. Also, we have the Age Convention Center, Jude. Sarit Expo Center is the largest beamless expo center we have in the region.
All right.
And the second one, we also seen the Pride in Hotels. It's a domestic, it's Kenyan owned, and we've been yes, and also Naivasha. In fact, take note that now the Mount Kenya region is also coming up so well in a very huge. In a very huge way.
I wanted to go to the Nyayo National Stadium and touch base with Ali Manzu. Good morning, Ali Manzu, who will be talking to us in terms of matters to do with what is happening on ground. We are seeing that dignitaries are getting in there. That is an indicator that a lot is about to take place, that the president is about to get there and the event to officially start. You can see those are Kenyans who are expecting to be addressed by the president on the subject matter, tourism and mice in the country. You can proceed in terms of the mice sector, but let's look. Let me just add another question.
Yes.
We talk about mice and attracting global global partners, right?
Yes.
But there is the aspect of security. You know, there is always a subject of space. There is logistics involved, and how do these then play into improving this sector?
First, actually, I want to say Kenya, we are doing well in terms of security. In fact, Kenya is the most secure country. To an extent of we are even assisting other countries to secure their own countries. I think the big question is how do we enhance capacity to other counties that are far-flung area? Looking at it in terms of, in fact, Nairobi, Mombasa, and Naivasha, and parts of Kisumu are the leading mice destination. But the question we need to ask, then how do we take mice events into Turkana?
Yes.
How do we take an event to the eastern region, parts of Isiolo?
Parts of eastern region. Yes. Ali Manzu, good morning. How are you doing? Happy 62nd Jamhuri Day. Bringing us up to speed on what is happening at the Nyayo National Stadium. As we can see, dignitaries continue to step in. What's the situation, Manzu?
Dennis, habari asubuhi. Huku tunaendelea vyema kabisa, asante. Na happy 62nd Jamhuri Day. Bila shaka uwanja wa Nyayo ambako tuko kwa sasa ni kunaendelea na shughuli nyingi sana, maandalizi kabla ya Mheshimiwa Rais kuwasili, na hivi sasa ni burudani tu, viongozi wengine mbalimbali wakiendelea kuingia. Tayari tunaye speaker ambaye ameingia hivi sasa muda mfupi tu uliopita, lakini pia kuna viongozi wengine wakuu, mabalozi ambao wamefika, na pia Wakenya kama kawaida wameingia kwa wingi sana, na uwanja umejaa kusema kweli, wakisubiri sherehe hizi kuanza rasmi, wakati ambapo Mheshimiwa Rais William Ruto atakuwa ni mwenye kuingia tayari kuanzisha sherehe hizi. Kwa hakika ni sikukuu ambayo imepewa kauli mbiu tofauti kabisa. Kiangalia kwenye uwanja, kilichosambaa sana kwenye uwanja ni mabango ambayo yanaashiria zile vivutio vya kitalii hapa nchini Kenya, na pia ni katika kukumbuka jitihada ambazo zilipigwa kama taifa la Kenya katika miaka 62 iliyopita baada ya Kenya kupokezwa ala zake za uongozi. Tunaangazia tumetoka wapi na hatua gani zimepigwa katika sekta ya utalii. Kumbuka mtazamaji, sekta ya utalii ni mojawapo ya sekta muhimu sana, inachangia pakubwa katika kuhakikisha kwamba tunaongeza pato la taifa ili tujiendeleze kama taifa. Na kando na hapo pia, sekta ya utalii inaendelea kukaribisha wageni kutoka maeneo mbalimbali ya taifa, na vile vile wageni kutoka mataifa ya nje ambao wanaovutiwa sana na vivutio hivi vya kitalii. Ndio maana kauli mbiu katika siku hizi za 62 wanaangazia zaidi namna utalii umeimarika na hatua ambazo zimepigwa. Lakini pia nisikose kuzungumzia Wakenya waliojitokeza hapa. Ni Wakenya kutoka maeneo mbalimbali, yani kaunti mbalimbali. Wote walifika hapa kuanzia mwendo wa saa 12 ambapo malango yale yalifunguliwa rasmi na kuanza kuingia, na wao kuangalia ni furaha tu ambazo walizonazo. Nimepata kuzungumza na wawili watatu, mmoja kutoka sehemu ya Machakos, kuna mwingine ametoka sehemu ya Nyamira, na wanasema wao ni kuja tu hapa kusherekea uzalendo kulingana na wao ambao wanaoonelea kwamba hatua iliyopigwa katika kuhakikisha kwamba taifa linapiga hatua vile vile. Kando na hapo pia tunatarajiwa kufika baadhi ya magavana ambao tayari wamewasili, na wengine ambao wanaendelea kuwasili kwa sasa. Hali ya usalama pia imeimarishwa, huku ambulansi zikiwa ange kuangazia yoyote ambaye labda anapata matatizo, kuwasaidia kutoka mashirika mbalimbali. Na hivyo basi, kama wanahabari tuko hapa kuwaletea taarifa hizi kwa njia moja kwa moja, yani mubashara kabisa, ili kuelezea kile ambacho kinachojiri kwa sasa. Dennis.
Yes, indeed. Manzo, thank you very much as you continue to bring us up to speed on what is happening on the ground. As you can see, Kenyans are in numbers. They are waiting for that address by President William Ruto. Dignitaries continue to make their way in studio. We continue to have the discussion just around the thematic area this year, which is tourism and mice. And this is a conversation that continues to stir conversations and a debate on what must be done for us to improve on the tourism, how we can improve on the mice sector as well, that work together to improve the economy. Because at the end of the day, we have a tourism sector that is thriving, we have a mice sector that is thriving, and lives of Kenyans, because then that means more money for development, more money for service delivery, and more money, and Kenyans are happy. It is a conversation that we continue with. Peter, before we went to Manzo, you are saying in terms of security that is there, and where we are with regards to that.
Yeah, so as I was saying, Kenya, in terms of security, it's fairly well. So to an extent of even are supporting security to other nations. It's something to look at how the Kenyan government has taken security very seriously. We have a special tourism.
Let's go to Mulwa. Mulwa.
Yes.
So we've painted a picture of tourism where it is today. We look at where the mice sector as well is at. But we also can't run away from the fact that there is a lot of work that needs to be done. All of us need to plug into the same. But you look at the tourism sector, year on year, there is, Swahili say, mgala muwe lakini haki yake mpe, So there's a lot that has gone into improving the sector, but a lot more needs to be done. But let's talk about how we will ensure that Kenyans become the first clients that consume the tourism sector.
Absolutely.
Because we're looking at improving the numbers to say 8 million.
Yes.
But we already have 55 million in the bag.
Without speaking to slum tourism.
So let's talk about how we are making Kenyans be the first ambassadors in consuming this product. Because if we don't consume it ourselves, how are we convincing outsiders to come consume it? It's not making sense.
Absolutely, and we need to focus on what I call prioritizing Kenyans first. Because we sometimes we get too absorbed in this idea of packaging a narrative for either foreigners or the international community at the expense of actually what we are doing for ourselves and with ourselves. And to me, this goes straight to a governance issue. The reason I brought up the sessional paper number 10 of 1965, because what we consider as our founding fathers, they had a very good and grounded understanding that there was no way we were going to enjoy economic prosperity without addressing the three fundamental issues that I mentioned, disease, ignorance, and poverty. Unfortunately, that vision was lost very quickly. And the governance problem has been sustained by successive regimes. In fact, the mega reprieve that a lot of Kenyans can identify with was during the tenure of the late President Mwai Kibaki. And what Kibaki did was not a miracle. The idea is to free up money in the economy so that the ordinary citizen can earn better. It is out of earning better that now an average Kenyan in some remote village in Samburu can put up a small facility that can even host meetings and tourists within that particular area. But when they are struggling with the basics in terms of even affording a meal for themselves, there is nothing left for either investment, and there is absolutely nothing left for moving around to explore beyond your home county. And to me, what has been and the major issue that we keep skirting around, which I believe we must confront very boldly and very bluntly, is there has been a systemic pilferage of public resources, particularly for the last, in fact, this culture has reached unmanageable levels since 2013.
Yeah.
Every morning when you wake up, either in the newspapers or in social media, you're going to see the Auditor General reporting that there are this number of billions lost, there is this number of this kind of money lost and all that. Yet, even if the government was to invest in creating this, or directly invest in building this infrastructure, like it happened before, KICC was constructed by the government. Bombas is being done by the government. The government can play a frontal role in terms of enhancing these kinds of infrastructure. But we must now come to agree that the level of wastage and the level of pilferage is directly affecting our ability to nurture individual economies, and that is what we must address.
Yeah, I think we'll come back to June and just have a discussion.
Because I am representing government, I have a right of reply.
I want us to go to Manzu, then when you come back, yes, you'll have your right to reply. And good morning, Manzu. We continue to bring Kenyans up to speed on what is happening at the Nyayo National Stadium. And Kenyans want to speak their views, their expectations in terms of what the president should address himself to, even as they celebrate the 62nd Jamhuri Day celebration, Manzu.
Tuko bila shaka katika uwanja wa Nyayo, uwanja wa michezo wa Nyayo hapa jijini Nairobi. Siku hii ya tarehe 12 mwezi wa Disemba mwaka 2025, mwaka 1963 bila shaka Kenya iliweza kuwa jamhuri, yani ikipokezwa zile ala kama nilivyokuelezea hapo awali, ala za uongozi wa taifa rasmi kutoka kwa mkoloni, na ni hatua kubwa ambayo tumepiga kama taifa, tukiangalia hivi sasa Kenya kujitawala, kujisimamia katika masuala yake na kujiendeleza vyema zaidi licha ya changamoto ambazo zimekuwepo kupitia serikali mbalimbali, bali bila shaka ni hatua imepigwa katika kujitawala tu peke yake. Ndio maana siku hii ya leo kauli mbiu kama nilivyokuelezea inaangazia zaidi masuala ya utalii na hatua ambazo zimepigwa. Mojawapo ya mambo ambayo kama taifa najivunia ni kuwa na rasilimali zake wenyewe, rasilimali ambazo kwanza tukiangazia ardhi tambarare, na kwenye ardhi hiyo mnaishi wanyama na hata binadamu. Upande wa wanyama hapa tukiangazia kama kivutio kikuu cha utalii ambacho kinasaidia kuleta pato kwa taifa ili taifa liweze kujiendeleza. Ni hatua ambayo bila shaka imepigwa kupitia kuleta wageni kutoka nje na hata hapa ndani ya nchi kuweza kuzuru katika baadhi ya maeneo ya vivutio mbalimbali kupitia asasi ambazo zilewekwa, kupitia sera ambazo zilowekwa na kupitia katiba ambayo tulionayo pia ambayo inaangazia vyema namna ya utunzaji na namna ambavyo rasilimali zitakuwa na uendelevu katika siku zijazo. Ndio maana basi leo katika uwanja huu ambao tayari umejaa hadi pomoni, watu ni wengi sana, na kuingia kidogo niliona pia watu wanaendelea kuingia wengi zaidi licha ya kwamba tayari kumejaa, ishara kwamba wamekuja kusherehekea siku hii ya Jamhuri hapa na pia kuonyesha uzalendo wao katika serikali na hata taifa kwa ujumla. Tutapata fursa tuzungumze na baadhi ya Wakenya ambao wametoka maeneo mbalimbali, labda tuanze kuzungumza nao kuwasikiza. Habari zenu? Muko wazima? Asanteni sana kwa kufika hapa. Mimi naitwa Ali Manzu na ni mtangazaji wa habari. Labda nataka kuongea na wananchi kupata kusikia hisia zenu. Siku hii ya leo unaichukulia kwa uzito gani? Nikianza na wewe.
Mimi kwangu nimefurahia sana.
Jina kwanza?
Jina langu naitwa John Jenga Dongo kutoka Molo. Nafurahia sana sana kukua hapa. Na tena mimi nasema 10 fresh kwa roho safi.
Asante sana. Labda kando na masuala ya siasa, unajivunia nini kama taifa na hatua ambazo zimepigwa mpaka hivi leo tuko hapa?
Sasa mimi nafurahia sana kwa sababu nakumbuka wakati wa Moi tulikuwa tunakunywa maziwa na kila kitu. Kwa hivyo sisi tulikuwa watoto wa Nyayo hiyo miaka. Kwa hivyo mimi nafurahia sana sana. Na iendelee hivyo hivyo. Naomba rais pia aregeshe maziwa ya Nyayo kwa watoto wakunywe.
Asante sana. Kuna mwenzetu hapa mwingine, labda kwa majina unaitwa nani kutoka Mau Original Trust?
Yes, mimi naitwa Kennedy Odinga kutoka upande wa Nyanza huko.
Upande wa Nyanza?
Yes.
Labda uko hapa kwa nini? Kwa nini umekutoka Nyanza ukaja hapa?
Nimekuja sasa nifurahie pamoja na wenzangu wa Kenya. Tujivunie tu wa Kenya. Vile sasa tulikuwa na uhuru yetu hapa Kenya. Tulipokuwa under ile colonial rule, sasa tuko na ile uongozi. Sisi wa Kenya wenyewe tunajivunia kuwa na freedom na kuwa na uhuru na kila kitu, na mambo yetu tunafanya kibinafsi, sio kuongozwa na kaunti hizo zingine. Sasa
labda ujio wa katiba mpya umesaidia vipi kufahamu na kujua zaidi masuala ya taifa na utawala kwako wewe kama Mkenya?
Kama Mkenya sasa mimi nasikia vizuri sana juu kulingana sasa hakuna kitu mzuri kama unajivunia kuwa na katiba yako yeye inakuongoza kama mwenye Kenya. Sio vyema kama unaongozwa na katiba ya kaunti nyingine kama wakoloni sasa, na ukiwa na yako mwenyewe umejitengenezea inakuwa mzuri sana kama juu hiyo ndio yako na hiyo ni ya Kenya na inaongoza kwa kila jambo, kwa kila watu wote inajumuika pamoja. Kwa hiyo
na labda siku hii ya leo unatazamia ama unatarajia rais agusie mambo gani hasa ya taifa?
Rais sasa kama ataguzia mambo yetu ya wale waliokuwa pande ya Mau sasa. Sasa tulipokuwa wakati ule tuliteseka na mambo ya hapa na pale, kama watapata kitu kidogo hapo na wengine wa Kenya wapate nafuu na huru ya ile maisha yao labda hapa na pale magumu, kama itakuwa nafuu tutafurahia sana.
Asante sana. Na mamangu pia hapa mwingine, labda kwa majina mama unaitwa nani, unatoka sehemu gani ya Kenya?
Kwa majina naitwa Banis Mutinda, natoka Machakos County, Mulwa Sub County.
Kwa nini uko hapa leo?
Nimekuja kwa sababu ya hii sherehe ya Jamhuri Day. Siku ile tulipewa kuwa na freedom na ni siku yangu ya kwanza kufika hapa. Na nimeona watu wengi ambao sijaiona. So sijaiona jamhuri nyingine kama hii. Naona tumekuwa wengi sana.
Kama Mkenya wa kawaida na umepitia marais wengi wa nyuma, ni kitu gani labda unajivunia siku hii ya leo?
Maybe sijajua sana vile naweza kujivunia, lakini tumekuwa na rais na tunaweza furahia sana tuone yale masuala kama ile imeandikwa hapa ya hao wanyama wa pori. Nimeona watoto wengi wa shule, maybe yaongee mambo ya fees na uchumi. Sana sana uchumi imekuwa juu, at least atuweke hiyo. Alisema ni Asla Fund, Asla alikuwa anasema ni bottom up, sijui hivyo. Sasa kama sisi kina mama tunateseka, hakutuweka vile alikuwa anasema. Tungefurahia sana yale mambo alikuwa akiongea. Sisi kama wamama, wale wamama wa chini, atuweke hiyo kiwango, lakini maisha imekuwa juu sana kwetu.
Asante sana. Kuna mama mwingine hapa pia angependa kupeana maoni yake, labda tungesikia kutoka kwake. Labda kwa majina unaitwa nani na unatoka sehemu gani?
Kwa majina naitwa Irene Lubusi, natoka sehemu ya Misi Vika County.
Kwa nini uko hapa?
Niko hapa sababu ya kusherehekea na Wakenya hii siku ya Jamhuri Day. Nchi yetu tunajifunia, tunapenda Kenya. Kitu ya kwanza ningependa rais aongelelee kwa hii msisimo ya watoto wetu grade 9 ECPC, sababu ni masomo ya kwanza. Wasasi tunajua, atuelezee tunaenda aje, kama sisi wengine tutaanza aje, juu ni masomo mpya kwa Kenya. Atuelezee hiyo, tunde nafurahia.
Sawa sawa. Mamangu hapa pia labda tumsikize. Habari ya leo?
Mzuri.
Unatoka sehemu gani ya taifa na kwa nini uko hapa?
Mimi ni mkaazi wa Kibra na kwa majina naitwa Florence Achungo. Hapa kwa sababu niko hapa ni kusherehekea siku ya leo. Nimekuwa siku ya furaha sana. Naweza ongelelea hii upande wa elimu. Elimu hii imeleta wazazi juu, alafu hata wazazi wengine wameshindwa kulipia hii school fees ya CPC. Hii imeleta shida, inafaa iongelelewe ili rais atetee masomo, wanafunzi wakaweze kusoma. Na tena hii maneno ya chakula, arukishe bei ya chakula chini ili tukaweze kupata vile watoto wanaweza kula kwa manyumba.
Asanteni sana. Asante sana. Ni baadhi ya Wakenya ambao tuko nao hapa siku hii ya leo ambao wamekuja kusherekea, na matarajio ni mengi. Kwa mfano, jana matokeo ya KPSEA yalitolewa na kwa wengi bado wanaona ni changamoto kwao. Kwa hiyo matarajio ni kwamba Mheshimiwa Rais atakuwa ni mwenye kuzungumzia swala hili la elimu, na zaidi anachozungumzia ni kwamba wapewe uhamasisho kuhusu masomo hayo ndio waweze kujiandaa vema kabla ya shule kufunguliwa. Lakini cha msingi ni kwamba kauli mbiu ya sherehe hizi za leo za 62 za Jamhuri ni kuangazia zaidi mafanikio yaliyopatikana katika masuala ya utalii kupitia rasilimali ambazo taifa zilizonazo. Tuna bahari pana sana, tuna maeneo ambayo ni vivutio vya utalii ikiwemo kama vile mbuga za kitaifa na hata mbuga za jamii, ambapo jana pia nilipata fursa kuzunguka katika baadhi ya ukanda wa Taveta kule na kujionea namna ambavyo wenyeji maeneo yale wamechukua jukumu kupitia zile mbuga za kitaifa na pia kwenye mbuga zile ambazo ni za jamii, na kuona kwamba ni vitu gani wanaweza kufanya ili kuleta kuwa vivutio vya utalii na kumfaidi mwananchi ambaye yuko maeneo ya mashinani. Tutarudi baadaye tuendelee kuzungumza na baadhi ya Wakenya tukiwa bado tuko hapa katika uwanja wa Nyayo jijini Nairobi. Dennis, nakurudishia kwako.
As you continue to bring us up to speed on the situation that is happening at the Nyayo National Stadium, Kenyans there expressing themselves on the situation and the expectation of the president. And June there, we've had Kenyans speak, and clearly it is not about tourism. It is about cost of living. It's all about education, healthcare, you know, and even while at that, one would say that if you empower Kenyans to have a better economic position, then they're able to have extra to spend in the tourism sector. But then again, you're right of reply.
Yeah, yes. Very true. When first of all, Kenyans are reflecting what they truly feel and where their pinch point is.
Yes.
And we cannot ignore that as a government. And that is why the president has moved to come up with the initiatives to support that economic development. But allow me to go back to 1963, the sessional paper number 10. I think as a people, we must be honest with ourselves. We are not where we were in 1963. Talk of economic development. We have moved from low-income economy to a middle-income economy. Is that where we need to be? No. We are aware that we've lagged behind compared to countries that were in the similar position during the days of independence, and we've seen the benchmark of South Korea. We've had the president speak about Singapore and so forth and so on. So we must really push to benchmark with the countries that we feel are an inspiration to us. What about literacy level? We've seen steady improvements over the years. There are more Kenyans who are learned now, unlike the times of independence. And we've seen access to free primary education, secondary education, now vocational training. A lot of investment has gone into vocational training. And that is why the challenge we have now as a country is not literacy level. Sio kufukuza ujinga kama 1963. Saizi, we are challenged with creating opportunities to the learned Kenyans. We're having graduates these days who don't have jobs. They are actually going to Mjengo. So that's a different challenge that has come as a result of progress that we've made in the education sector. So it is not true to say that we have not supported the education sector as it should be. Is there lessons that we have learned? Yes. Are there gaps? Yes, that then needs to be filled. In terms of disease burden, yes, over the years we've seen the level of disease burden easing, but again with population and the changing environmental conditions, we're having challenges of new diseases, and now access to universal health continued initially to be a key challenge, and that is why SHA is solving that problem. So I would like to request Kenyans, even as we continue to look for gaps, which is important because that's why we are here as a country. We have a responsibility of showing Kenyans where we are coming from, so that we have the kind of informed citizenry going forward. I'll tell you this, it's sad to see online that our young people do not have facts. And we saw them the other day. These are young people who could not describe what EACC is, and they're calling for accountability. We are failing this generation because we are not feeding them facts, we are feeding them propaganda. So I would like to appreciate that indeed we must speak to elements of further reforms or further support to strengthen and augment our education sector. We need to lift more Kenyans out of poverty, and that's what the government is pursuing. But while at it, we have to appreciate where we are coming from for us to go forward.
Yeah. Peter, what opportunities do exist, especially in this sector, both tourism and MICE, in working together, especially for the young people? Because whichever way you want to look at it, it is the young people today who want to attend these conferences to know what's up, like what's new, what's the latest that I can learn from my peers, you know. They're the ones who want to change the economies of the country. So what opportunities are there for the young people, and combine that with the use of technology and AI in just making all these a success?
Fantastic. In fact, the tourism industry is, I think, is one of the leading industries that employs youth. 70% of the labor is provided by the youth. Now, back to the MICE industry, there's a lot of opportunity for the youth, me being included. And one, we've been seeing a lot of technology innovation within the space. For instance, if you come to a conference, you'll find the registration system. So they're all run by tech guys who are trying to incorporate. The second element is in terms of content creation, so supporting content, PR, media engagement, rapporteuring into these events are heavily dominated by the youth. So the third aspect, it's the conceptualization and the creative aspect of it. So youths are very creative. Now that AI is already here with us, so they support and they integrate AI into the element of the events planning. And this is on the ideation aspect, the aspect of coming up with new ideas in regards to the event. The other part is also a MICE industry is a very heavy labor-intensive industry. You see the expos that you see on our conferences and the nice exhibition booth. For instance, this week the 4-day theme at KCC, we had nice booth by KTB, KWS. The booths were done by young guys who are in the artisan space, the vocational training. So it's a supporting pillar, for the youth. Look at it also in terms of logistics. So bringing these items from all other aspects. So it's a great economy whereby youths are able to tap into the market. It has low barriers of entry. In fact, this is the best time for them to get in when the industry is still young. When I started the conversation, I said we only have one university in the country that is doing events management program. So this is an opportunity for also the high schoolers that are leaving to also look at it in terms of an industry, to think beyond the catering, the accommodation, and think at it in terms of events management, events management planning. So
those are live images coming to you right from the Nyayo National Stadium. We can see dignitaries continue to step in with all indicators highlighting that President William Ruto is in the venue. We expect him to be making his way to greet Kenyans, be part of the conversation, and officially kickstart the celebrations. Many dignitaries have made their way there. This is including the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, we've seen Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, and you can also see the military officers. They're just in line. They're queuing. Is it queuing or is it parading as they are ready to take Kenyans through the exercise? Remember, this is a military conversation, but let's listen in to Daniel Kariuki, who is on ground and is bringing us up to speed. Kariuki.
Thank you very much, Dennis Aseto. And just like you have put it, here at the Nyayo Stadium, anytime from now, the president is going to be arriving and is going actually to be presiding over these celebrations here. As we speak right now, the deputy president has arrived. That definitely means that the president will arrive any minute from now. And once he arrives here, he is going to be heading straight to the ceremonial vehicle, the military ceremonial vehicle that is going to board so that he can have a round of the stadium. He's going to go around the stadium as he greets wananchi in the ceremonial military vehicle that is going to be happening immediately he gets to arrive here, and then will be escorted to the ceremonial vehicle, and will definitely have the president greet wananchi, and then later on he's going to be headed to the ceremonial dais. Immediately he concludes the guard of honor that is being mounted by the Kenya Defense Forces, that's the Kenya Navy, Kenya Army, as well as the Kenya Air Force. And today also we are going to be having quite a number of things that are going to be happening apart from the actual celebrations. Part of the celebrations will be the trooping of the colors, the trooping by the Defense Forces band that is going to be escorting that trooping of the colors. That is going to be happening there every Jamhuri Day. That is what exactly happened, the trooping of the colors. And of course, that's the history of colors, the formation of the armies. And that is from the 19th century when they started this trooping of the colors. And of course, they have the presidential regimental colors that are going to be happening. The president is going to be presiding over also that trooping of the colors that is going to be taking place today. They have, and of course the symbolism of the colors, the colors, the honor according to the unit that is said to take over today, and they are handled with utmost respect. And we usually see the president always involved in that trooping of the colors. It's a strict drill for marching in and out and handling of the colors, and the colors are always kept under lock and key and removed occasionally for ceremonial displays. That usually happens on such an occasion like today. And we are going to be seeing also one of the forces take over these colors, and they're going to be holding that. They're going to be in charge of it until the next time that we are going to be having such kind of ceremony happening. And so today we are going to be looking forward to see which over those colors. And it has happened quite for some time, Seto. And we are going to be keen to see today if it is the Kenya Navy or it is the Kenya Air Force unit that is going to be taking over that the colors today, or rather the flag.
to you straight from the Nyayo National Stadium, the epicenter of the Jamhuri Day celebrations, the 62nd Jamhuri Day celebrations. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been having the discussion here. And I'll start with you, Ben Mulwa, closing remarks on the 62nd edition of Jamhuri Day celebrations and around tourism and what we must do. Briefly, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity. And I think there are sentiments that have been presented by some of the two ladies that your colleague Ali Manzo has spoken to. And that's the reflection across the majority of Kenyans. And it is my challenge would be it is time that we begin to get serious. We migrate from this concept of just fancy speech and move to tangible action, because that has largely been lacking. And that is going to be undertaken by political systems that genuinely have the interest